Hello, everyone. This is Kelly Beard of KarmicTools.com, and this is a follow-up audio to our Fall Equinox gathering just a little while ago. I am still basking in the glow of the magic we created together. It is always magical when we get together live, whether it's on the phone or in person. We offered our prayers to the world. Technology was a little wonky, so those got cleaned up a little bit on the audio. If you haven't had a chance to listen to it, it's all cleaned up now, and you will enjoy it in the post-call note. If you didn't receive that, number one, check your spam, because attention, bulletin, Gmail no longer likes me, or I should say Google or whatever, because even though I'm marked a safe sender with many of you with Gmail accounts, I am ending up in your spam or your junk or your promotions or whatever it is. When they created the categories, I got kicked out. So you definitely want to always look there when you haven't heard from me in a while, because I'm pretty much in touch with the weekly blog post. Monthly updates are pretty much seasonal, and it's fall, so this is our season to gather information and energy and sustenance, wisdom and understanding and clarity for moving through this last quarter of the year, which is what we celebrated tonight. Shanta's meditation is only 15 minutes. It's a really good one to go back to if you're working on maintaining balance through a transitional time, which is what we're all trying to do right now, for sure. And the part one of this part two that you have found I'm not sure how you're finding me, whether you're listening to this as a podcast from my blog or on the Karmic Tools YouTube channel. But either way, there's a part one to this that covers more about the energy of the seasonal shift and a couple of things about the energetic support. Here is where I wanted to go deeper on three more things that I feel are super supportive of the last quarter of this year. So, in my opinion, important to put on the table so that you know you have this additional resource and guidance when you start to think about what your harvest really means to you, what looking back on the last 9 months of creation really is for you. And I am encouraging everyone to dig a little deeper this time, because 2020 is bringing some monumental social and collective shifts that will affect large numbers and groups of people all at one time, shifting all at the same time. We all have our individual soul work to do and individual up-leveling that's happening and evolution that's happening. And the idea is not to overwhelm you with information, but to actually provide some nourishing little tidbits that help you remember in the moment of choice, in the moment of crisis, in the moment of stress, when we really need our tools and we really need to remember what the goal is. The bigger end goal is to come back to what we know the energy supports. That's always going to be my advice to you, is to go with the energy, go with what's supported. If it's supported to be inward, which it is in the northern hemisphere, we're shifting from very active yang mode into yin, passive, feminine, mysterious, allowing, flowing. It's earth and water. It's very feminine. This kind of self-assessments and self-inventory is something we do every year during kind of September, October. When we get to November, we're going to be in the last of the 8 sacred seasons, which is when we meet up with the ancestors every year. First week of November is Access the Ancestor time, and we pay homage to them. We commune with them. I have tons of different readings that have been cultivated over time in a way to ask them various different questions about many different life things that we all face. And so that's when we do the most divinations in the year, is November, December. But right now it's warming up. And so the information you need to do your personal assessment is centered around, initially the Libra energy of the season of fall equinox itself, but also the chart. I didn't get a chance to go into that during our night together, so I wanted to make sure that I put that on the table for you, because The chart for fall equinox is a snapshot of the sky, and it's very much like a birth chart. It gives us a blueprint of the vibration of this quarter, basically. We're going to look at it as an overview for 3 months, for 90 days, taking us to winter solstice. So this chart gives us some really juicy, specific support in that it kicks off with Leo, meaning Leo's on the rising for this chart. So it is definitely time to renew a heart-centered life and deepen your dedication to your authentic self, or expressing your authentic self, or really being integrity with what you care about and what you're passionate about. That's what time it is. We have been stripped rather bare, all the way down to the soul levels, but we are rising in the Leo light in many ways, and reconnected with our hearts in many ways, and knowing what's of value and relevance in this moment. We have to constantly be asking that throughout this quarter, because we're pulling together all of the goodness out of 2019 to integrate into our systems to support us when the choices of 2020 and the opportunities of 2020 present themselves. We want to be as anchored in who we are and in the truth of who we are, so that the experiences and the collaborations and the partnerships that we're magnetizing are vibrational matches, and that we're calling in the highest good for all involved. And this chart supports us to commit to the natural, no synthetic, no fake, no phony, really natural essence is where it's at. Dedicating yourself to a whole new rhythm that honors your heart and what you're passionate about, or what's most important to you in this moment. We also have a tremendous amount of energy for healing relationships on every level, pretty much. So personal or professional, intimate or friendship or family or siblings or cousins, or just every level of relating. Or maybe it's not even relating with people, relating with our animals and the plant kingdom and the rock kingdom, the mineral kingdom. There's so many aspects to Earth that are alive and are our kinfolk, that we can be healing our relationships and our commitments to be in relationship with these various other aspects of life that are so vital to the whole surviving. It's so important that each individual organism and system gets healthy so that the whole can be healthy. There's energy for that. Active, intentional solitude is also very supported, because we are doing this processing, and it can take you in some deep subterranean realms sometimes. But you're resetting your own system, and so you're learning how to do the healing work yourself, and hopefully gain some skill in 2019 that you can use. That's like, it's in your tool belt now. You can rely on that. You can turn to that when you need it in 2020 and beyond. New relationships, collaborations, and partnerships, absolutely. Balance within and balance with others is what we're intending at this time and setting intentions around. The values and priorities are beauty, harmony, creativity, your artistic expression. If you are skilled at these things, you can magnetize support. And so your magnetic field is getting fluffed right now, is getting cleansed and cleaned and purified and reset back to its original blueprint of intention, the highest intention possible for you. And so we love to get our magnetics cleansed so that we are magnetizing naturally. That's effortless. We can magnetize the relationships and collaborations that we need, desire, and deserve in this instant, just by resetting our own systems to that beauty and harmony that we want to experience. Of course, be the change you want to see in the world, right? So we're resetting that, and Libra rules the social realms in general, so we're calling in a new way of socializing and playing with others and working with others and community with others, and hopefully learning how to be more independent as individuals, but also more independent communities where we're self-sustaining communities, helping build that smaller pockets of strength that actually weave together to make the whole that much stronger. It's such a powerful thing that we can call in at this time. And we are right between the equinox and the new moon in Libra, which is a super new moon. So again, we have this rich power that's going to also be amplified by Venus being there. So the sun, moon, and Venus are all lined up together in Libra in this magical way that is supporting us to call in those conscious equal partnerships with all life, but certainly any individual focuses you may have, or community setting, like I'm starting a new circle. The Soul Sisters Circle is underway, and kellymbeard.com is almost ready. There is energy for that, for gathering around new things. In addition to shamanic astrology, we will be gathering for all kinds of other wonderful good medicine. So you're in the zone. The dark of moon is the most potent zone to be in. I hope you're hearing this within 3 days of the new moon. 3 days before, the day of, and 3 days after is our power zone around a new moon. And it's really excellent to get into any kind of ritual or ceremony in that time frame. It amplifies the power of any ritual or ceremonial work that you do. And so like us gathering tonight, I am just still full of juice and goodness that I wanted to share, and also wanted to put it in bite-sized pieces so that you could digest it without overwhelm, because we had a pretty big night. So also in this chart, it supports the power of our words, the power of our thoughts and ideas, the wisdom of power. Like, what is power trying to teach you at this time? Where is the wisdom of your creative power? This is a conception time where you can really tap into your own unique genius and conceive that new baby that you want to nurture into full development. Really powerful, y'all. We also have tremendous support, and we've talked about this one all along, Sirius, the sacred feminine nurturing principle of mother, what we nurture and nourish and how we like to be nurtured and nourished, has been in cahoots with Jupiter, expanding our knowledge base in Sagittarius. So we've been nurturing and nourishing, feeding truth, letting go of illusion, delusion, and madness, and all of that, confusion, really resetting our faith and our belief systems. We're learning what nourishes our souls, our bodies, our minds, our spirits. Right now we're still in a tremendous zone of self-care. We've got, a good 9 months of that left before it shifts, so we really should bask in it, everyone. I know it seems like we've been talking about it a lot, but I think the whole 18 months of Cancer being the North Node has been an indication that we have to get back in touch with our systems and with what feeds us on a quality level, not on a quantity level. So we're cultivating that real connection with other folks who want to share in this expression of truth and who believe in protecting truth and imagination and miracles and coming up with creative solutions and being willing to nourish the optimistic possibilities at least as much as we nourish the negative possibilities. I mean, they say, if you're going to worry, why pray? And if you're going to pray, why worry? So then we realize that worry becomes this neurotic thing that humans do. Animals don't really do that. They don't worry. They respond. They pay attention. They're alert to their environment. They look for the changes. They track the patterns. They pay attention to the seasons. They respond accordingly. We try to fight that, humans. So anyway, this is where the nutrient lies, though, is where Jupiter has been all year. And we did talk about that on the Fall Equinox call, how we have been challenged in our faith department and called to raise the vibe or raise the bar or raise the level of knowing that the unknown can be an amazing, miraculous unfolding just as easily as it can be a disaster. So we might as well call in the vision that is what we want to experience and not feed the other vision that we really don't want to experience. But if you're picturing it or you're worrying about it or you're stressed about it or the worldly thing is getting to you these days, that's when you realize you need your boundaries enhanced in a new way or recalibrated in some way so that you're not overwhelmed by that and that you can still be effective. And so we've been learning how to see the truth and then feed the most positive response to that truth, whatever it was, good, bad, or indifferent. We want to nourish the most positive, effective responses rather than reactions and self-righteousness and digging into one way or one truth. Truth is pretty fluid, y'all. We need to be ready for that. Just like we live on a changeable planet and the changeable moon rules our every move. We are changeable beings, and we get a little stagnant trying to hold on to different states of being that seem to be more pleasurable. But the truth is, if we would allow the flow and the stages and the ages to move in their natural order and accommodate them and really co-create with them, they become unbelievably magical to live through, and not so much of the struggle that we can bring on ourselves, you know. And then we have definitely discussed the stellium of Saturn, Pluto, and the South Node, what we know is done and complete and not serving us in the Capricorn realms. So my little notes here say reality check is from Saturn, releasing the past is the South Node, and composting that past is part of Pluto's job. So again, we can see everything that's wrong with our lives or with our community or with our world, but then what's the blessing? What are you calling in its place? What is the correction? What is the visual or the feeling, even more important, the feeling that you want to experience? So for example, we all get very upset with the water pollution and the air pollution, because water and air are vital to our survival. So it's not about which company owns the water or air. You can't own that. That has to be available, and it has to be clean and usable for all life. Not even just humans, but plants and animals need clean air and water too. So that's where we're composting the old way. If we're going to have this spectacular, amazing technology that can and is so quote-unquote advanced, how can we use it to help the earth rather than poke holes in her and wear her out in certain areas that are really hard to revitalize? It takes years and years and thousands and hundreds of years to revitalize some of the damage we've done. So that's what's getting composted. How can we do that in a new way? How can we call in that vision, and let's get super creative with it? And know that anything in your creative department that is weak, unstable, or toxic, it's got to be done. It's got to get out of here. You know, this is the cleansing time, and it's supported to be gone. Neptune is still moving through Pisces. It's at the halfway mark. Neptune spends 14 years in a sign, and with a little leeway on retrograde times and the overlap when it's moving into a new one. But while it's in its home sign of Pisces, funny I should bring the water up, that is what time it is. It's time for us to really work with our water in a whole new way. It takes it 165 years to get back to Pisces. So what I remember doing some research for a call I did years ago, and I can't remember, or quote it verbatim, but what it was 165 years ago, last time Neptune was in Pisces, it was the first time that they had started thinking about cracking the surface of the ocean and seeing what's underneath the ocean surface. That was 165 years ago. Then when it re-entered Pisces this go-round, it was like the first time they got to the deepest part of the ocean ever. So they finally touched the bottom. And that's just in one Neptune cycle. So there's, we know there's a lot of learning to do there, but it's also its home place, and it is the connection to God, to spirit, to all that is, to source, to all life is part of that ocean realm, and where we are connected to all life. The water is connected to all life. It's very important that it stays clean. So in the chart, we're supported to dream up new relationships, reciprocal relationships, creative collaborations, and profitable partnerships. Wealth comes in all forms, not just money. So where it's really worth it to collaborate and everyone benefits, that's also a Libra thing about creating win-win situations. We're going to talk about that too in a minute. Then we have Chiron in Aries is helping us heal ourselves. Like, this is the self-healing deal for the next several years. 2018 to 2027, so it's a 9-10 year process, and it's affecting those born in a 9 to 10 year time frame between the 60s and 70s. So they're having their Chiron return, which happens to everyone between 48 and 52. It is our chance to do a tremendous amount of healing, like, for our entire lifetime, because The only way you get a second Chiron return is if you live to 100. So this is it. This is our shot. And we're tremendously supported for the rest of us who may not have Chiron in Aries. We are supported to learn whatever it's animating, and that's the Aries department for the next several years is going to get a cleaning and a healing and an education where we're all going to learn and do some transformation in our Aries department. So, buck up. In this case, in the chart for fall equinox, we're healing the connection to the ancestors so that you can actually do your part. Part of your support team wants to be acknowledged, and whatever that means for you, whether it's the angels, the ancestors, or the animal spirit guides, there's a healing and a renewal of the connection with them that is tremendously supported. And then Uranus and Taurus, we've been talking about this along the way because this too is going to be in position for a while, also until 2026. So there's going to be some big shifts in that era as well. When the big boys all move at the same time, that's going to be really interesting. But for us right now and the next 9 years cycle, which is a great one to work with, y'all, because that's a complete cycle. 3 trinities, 9 is magical. There's a lot of really good juju to working with that number. But we can awaken the body. You're awakening your body. Mother Earth's body is awakening and evolving. We're tapped into manifesting and creating beauty. Both substance and beauty is part of the garden. The garden houses our food and our flowers. So that's what we're cultivating, and what we're awakening to is a new level or a new expression of this garden. So there's some radical shifts that have to be made, and that can be made. And I think this is another sign that technology can help support Mother Earth rather than gut her. It's not going to work if we break her down completely and we don't find a way to allow restorational seasons. That's what we need for ourselves, and Mother needs them too. So also traveling along with Uranus, we've talked about this feminine support like Ceres is with Jupiter. Vesta has been with Uranus and is extending her stay all the way until next year in Taurus. So again, another hint that the body is sacred and that Mother Earth's body is sacred too. Not just important, not just nice and really great and amazing, but vital to our survival and sacred to the universe. Sacred. Really important we get that memo. Finally, the moon was linked up with the North Node in Cancer. So again, the direction of caring about family. We are all family. All life on this planet is part of the family of this planet. So self-care, restoration, quality nutrient, water is healing, and following the rhythm of the moon. Again, if you're out of sync, going to Mama Moon is always my first stop. Then we work backwards from there because rhythm is vital. It's really important. So this Libra theme that we got cooking, I thought I would just share the bullets list with you and go through it a little bit for those who, I have some people who have sight issues, and so they prefer the audios. And so there are a lot of things that are printed up and printed out on the blog and whatnot that you can certainly go read if you prefer to read yourself. But here we have the light expression of Libra is the ability to create win-win situations at home or work. That's what we're going for at this time for sure, calling that in. How can everybody be served in a positive, effective way? Conscious equal partnership with all life. Deciding who you want to link up with and work or play with is really important and vital right now. Creating kinship and community and a sense of belonging is all up for renewal. And many of us have been with communities for many years that have just simply run their course. And you have grown, you've evolved, and so you're ready for something new. It's going to present itself. So you're still putting the final touches on you, but the people that you're going to be playing with are finding their way to you, I assure you, as we speak. Cultivating beauty, art, music, and harmony with all life, part of the game right now, let's say. Ability to create beauty in all that you are, do, or have. So this is the add beauty to everything season. This is what we do. Even the mourning, even the losses, even the failures, even the disappointments, it's all beautiful. It's all useful and relevant to the trip. It all is part of getting you here. Having a natural sense of balance, fairness, and justice. Again, we're just beginning to restore this. We have 6 weeks to play with these concepts and renew them in our lives. Being naturally magnetic, attractive, and loving. Okay, think of that sweet, sweet, sweet Libra that you know. That is just everything to all people. But they also have that natural ability to mediate and negotiate and integrate opposites because they are so positive and they can see all sides of a situation and be that naturally loving connection that gets everyone to see the common ground. That's really important. Somebody's got to do that job. Creating reciprocal relationships. You know I wear this one out. Creative collaborations and profitable partnerships. That's on this list too. So the shadow expression of Libra and what we can watch out for, and certainly what we can do our clearing of. The next clearing time coming up will be the Aries full moon that falls on October 13th. So that's going to be a really juicy one to co-create with. That is part of this Libra new beginning. So we're initiating new relationships, but we have completed some kind of work internally on ourselves that is basically allowing us to be in a position to attract higher level partnerships, period. Whether they're intimate or professional or, like I said, friends and family. A lot of times we have to break to realign with friends and family and let everybody grow and get some breathing room and then come back together and see each other through new eyes. That's all up for negotiation right now. So watching out for shadows is really important, and doing the cleansing and the purification of these things at this time is tremendously supported. Like, this is all the Pluto stuff into the cauldron to be cooked up and composted into useful nutrient and energy that we can direct better. So attracting imbalanced or toxic relationships, done, out of here. Being antisocial and unable to contribute to community, that's a problem. Isolation is a problem. We are not those kind of creatures usually. There's a very small percentage of humans that love and live on the mountain out of choice. But most of us are communal by nature. Excessive self-doubt, indecision, and inability to commit, that goes hand in hand with some of that people-pleasing, which I suppose is in here too somewhere. Staying busy, so most interactions are superficial. So not getting too deep, just wanting to have happy units, that can backfire. I used to tell a story about how if you don't disagree, sometimes people assume you agree. That's a problem. And I had that one bite me in the booty one day, and I never did it again after that because I don't like that. And it was a family member, and she's like, well, you said da-da-da. I said, no, I didn't. I didn't say anything that day because I did not agree with you, but I wasn't going to argue with you about it, so I just stayed quiet. But you took my silence for agreement, and that is not what it was. Now I see that setting the record straight in the moment is so valuable. And I know it makes people uncomfortable, but it works for me, and it's how I got to roll. For integrity and for these kind of things not to come back to bite you. This is just what it is. And so it's be uncomfortable now or be twice as uncomfortable later. I don't like that. So I usually am the confrontational one that wants to get it on the table and figure it out and make a choice. Everybody has a choice in this. And so that's what we want to do when we are asking our relationships to renegotiate. Again, whether professional or personal, we're up-leveling our service, then we're up-leveling the agreements and the commitments between those we serve and what we do. And then in our friends and family and communities, all of that needs to upgrade as well, because the better we can lead the example of cooperation, being able to work out our differences and still accomplish the common goal and not deteriorate into these ego dramas and control dramas, it's really important that we stay on that higher level for that. Being excessively other-directed to the neglect of self. Okay, it's one thing to be the great mediator and to be the person who's balanced and judicious and can see all sides of the situation, but it's another thing to be all up in everybody's business to the exclusion of your own. If you are always worried about what everybody else is doing and your life is falling apart, that is a sign that you are too other-directed. And it's a lot of ego to think that you can really, help and fix and save others in that way. It's better for you to take care of yourself, do your self-preservation, and lead by example. Then they really get it, I promise. Not knowing what you want or asking for what you need. Again, with that kind of silent, complicit, going along to get along, getting along to go along, not going to work. And that's the thing about it, y'all. It's just going to backfire. You can try. You can do it a little longer, but I bet it works a lot less often. And those of you who don't like confrontation, you don't want to make that hard for yourself, because if you're going into it already like, I don't like confrontation, and I've got some friends and family like this, I have learned to soften the language around it and help them find the language to really still say what they need to say and do what they need to do, but not make it as hard to deal with the confrontation. And at the same time, own it. Owning their stuff is part of it. Owning your part in anything, it's always you, it's always you. So whatever you've attracted in relationships, and certainly the repetitive patterns, there's something in you that needs to be addressed. And so that's something we can dig into in a mentorship session, but more about that later. So excessive giving to others until drained and or angry. So the other thing that Libra energy tends to do is give and give and give until they're empty. And they give and give and give thinking that they are demonstrating, sort of do unto others as you would have them do unto you. They think that they're basically showing instead of telling people how to treat them. But the problem with humans is they usually need a little direction. So instead of excessive giving until you're drained and angry, that's where the negotiating up front has to come into it. And it can be a friendly negotiation. Like, look, I would love to support you in this, but how can we make it a little more balanced of an exchange? It takes some practice, but you can do it. Low self-worth and the inability to negotiate on your own behalf. That's part of it. If you don't feel worthy, it's going to be really hard for you to stand up for yourself in these situations. But this is the muscle we're trying to build as we go, as we do the clearing of the non-essential. Feeling a false sense of estrangement and projecting fears onto others. That happens a lot. Imbalance, stagnation, or extremes. Whether it's excess or famine, those are both extremes. We are calling in the balance this season. And the last one is an overdone need for approval of others. So all of that is compost that we are throwing into the cauldron to be renewed so that we can do all of this a new way. Imbalanced and toxic relationships, we can do that a new way. Being antisocial and isolating, we can do that another way as well. Even the people who prefer solitude, go work in nature. Still, you're not alone. In nature, there's all kinds of plants and animals, and let me tell you, they both are pretty chatty. They love to commune with those who are open and on their frequency. And so the last thing to help us with our processing for the season is Mercury retrograding through Scorpio. So this is the deeper realms. Align your higher mind and lower mind and really release the monkey mind and the ego altogether. It's where we're going to commune and connect on a pure soul level and release any blocked, toxic, tortured, extremely dark or ugly ideas, thoughts, and concepts. Really time to release the irrational fears. Just always doing a flush of that. Every time you feel an irrational fear, just flush them all. Know that you are supported to do that. We can also access some long-hidden, denied thoughts and feelings, okay? Because remember, Scorpio is ruled by Pluto. Pluto's the underworld. This is the deeper thinking that a lot of people postpone and delay, but you can't deny. Eventually, you have to face some realities about being a human on this planet, and that includes a lot of downtime to deal with your death or sex or power or money issues. These realms that a lot of people don't always want to talk about, but that need a little clearing. And right now, because it's Mercury, it's more in our concepts of these things and our ideas of these things and how we're defining our terms. It's time to recognize the creative and destructive power of language. Words can cure or kill. They can really uplift or depress. It's powerful. Language is really powerful. So that's another thing that's being up-leveled at this time. Anytime we go through Scorpio processes, that's a cleansing and a reboot to the 0 point again. So we are really wanting to infuse our language with new words, and I've come across this with myself recently, just because I do repeat myself giving these same talks in different places, there are a couple of sentences that I will start to repeat, and that lately I've been feeling like, wow, that served me really well, served us all really well for a while, but I'm ready to upgrade that language. The only one that comes to mind that I can give you an example of is that prayer, the Sag prayer that I share with everyone. Please reveal my blind spot in time to cultivate a positive, effective response. And over the years, that evolved into please reveal my hidden potential in time to cultivate a positive, effective response. See how different that language feels? So language is super powerful and a really good thing to play with during this time. There's definitely new and different methods to processing the incoming information for you these days. We have these downloads from the universe, and we have these uploads into our DNA, and we have all kinds of adjustments happening throughout. Like every 7 years, our cells sloughing off, and really finding new ways to think, feel, be, and do. There's a whole new up level of that. So we're trusting and we're practicing getting present and pausing, thinking with your heart or thinking with your feelings and letting your heart be the filter, asking about your choices in different things. Does it really have to be this way? Is it worth it? Noticing that your moods are your messengers and feelings are information that come from within. So it's very important to learn that communication, and this is another really blessed, powerful time to learn how your body communicates with you, how your soul communicates with you, how your spirit guides you, and learning their language so that you can, once you get that, sky's the limit. Same thing with your intuition, combining thought and feeling, intuiting what's happening around you. We want to be effective and be able to synthesize the information into something useful and relevant. We want to be able to drop in and get in alignment in any given moment. And so Mercury in Scorpio is definitely a conception point and activates our inner mental detective. We're doing the archaeological dig into the mind. So know your thoughts and know your weaknesses. And this is time to deal with shadow material. It's another thing that many people postpone and delay and deny, but if you did a little bit every month, you'd have less to deal with at the end of the year, and that's a lot of what the Soul Sisters Circle is dedicated to. You're going to communicate deeper emotions because this is soul-level feelings that are coming up, powerful emotional responses. But because it's Mercury retrograde, we may not be able to act on those right away. We might have to really do the processing. That's what the retrogrades are good for. Not only dark and negative, but this is also buried treasure, raw truth, and soul-level truth that we're getting to here. So yes, sometimes it can be dark and scary, but it doesn't have to be. It's also, remember that diamonds were produced under great pressure and deep in the dark earth. Owning your shadow really helps. Honoring it, acknowledging it, giving it something to do. I used to talk about this all the time in my early circles. Give shadow something to do. When you ignore shadow and you act like it doesn't exist, it will cause havoc. And I love the way Pixie Lighthorse describes shadow as the inner child that needs some attention. And when you put it off and put it off and put it off, they get pretty crazy. Also on this list is OCD, which is obsessive compulsive disorder. I mean that in the way that we can become obsessed with an idea, again, to the neglect of other things in an imbalanced kind of way. So we're looking at facts versus truth at this time and reclaiming the power of the mind. We're facing our fears. We're looking at taboos in new ways. We are redefining terms. But this time is going to bring up those kind of emotional depths and possibly some secrets, again with that detective going on. It's just a really good time for this kind of assessment and personal inventory and reviewing the year and going deeper with it, really going deeper with it. And I'm assuming anyone that has made it this far into the audio or listened to both of them back to back, that you want to go deeper with it this quarter. And so in that regard, I want to also just offer my services because that's what the mentoring sessions are all about. And you can certainly go to my page on Karmic Tools under offerings, under readings with Kelly, and there is something for every budget. and a couple of special offers there that are useful during the seasonal shifts. But this is a really good time to check in, and if you need help figuring out your assessments and your inventory and how to look at that and how to really gather that information, I'm happy to support in that way. Or you want to link up with the moon and the solar rhythms, the solar and lunar rhythms for yourself that are customized just for you, because we have ways of doing that as well. And when we finally figure out our own rhythm and then we sync it up with nature's rhythm, we get really effective, and the magic starts to blossom, and we are moving through the seasons with more ease and grace. Not that things won't be intense or there won't still be the life-death-life process where we have to let go and allow the new life to come in, and whatever space in between, we usually have to deal with that too. And it is all good and part of being here, and you're wired for it. You were built for it. It's just remembering that we have to do. Forgetfulness is the primary source of suffering. Forgetting that we're connected to Source, forgetting that we're connected to each other with just a prayer. In the moment a prayer is given, the prayer is received. There is no time in God. There is no time between that prayer and the receiving of that prayer. That's instant. So we are in that zone of working with energy. Let's manage our energy rather than our time so that we are more effective, and reach out for that kind of support. Working with Shanta is a beautiful idea as well, because she works with the archangels, and that's amazing. Channelings that she does, and when she does a reading, they come through, and it's really magical. But I also recommend her flower essences. They are just amazing. Over the years, I have just really grown to love them, and when you have gone without them for a little while and you need to re-up. So it's always a good thing. And again, everything that we both do is pretty customized for the individual. So I highly recommend that you reach out if you want that one-on-one thing. In the meantime, the other activity that's happening right now that is truly supportive of this last quarter of the year and in preparation for choices and commitments and decisions that have to be made in 2020 is another friend and colleague, Miss Cinnamon Rose, is offering a 6-week course called Sovereignty in Relationship. And this is exactly what I've been talking about in terms of independence within the context of relationship or community or the world at large. It actually starts this Thursday, the 26th of September, and goes through October 31st. It's every Thursday for 6 weeks. And everything will be recorded, so you don't necessarily have to make it live. But she's got several different guests that are coming on. I may be one of them. I think something came up with somebody that I might be replacing, but in the meantime, everyone that she's guesting with looks amazing. And Sovereignty in Relationship, she says, is a gathering of all the tools, resources, and information I wish I had had when I was going through separation, divorce, and the ending of many roles in my life. This course is an offering, an answer of sorts, to the question I keep hearing women ask about the future of their partnerships. There is so much change and uncertainty happening right now, and not a lot of guideposts. We're looking for help, comfort, understanding, support, connection, and belonging. And this is my way of paying forward the support I received while moving through such a big transition. This is Cinnamon Rose. And she has priestesswarriorlover.com. And the course, like I said, is called Sovereignty in Relationship. It's going to be right on time for a couple of you, I know, out the gate. But for the rest of us, if you're really looking to go deeper, she is an amazing resource and will be a really fun leader for this course, and I'm looking forward to participating. So I hope you will reach out as you are intuitively called, and know that there is support of all kinds available to and for you, and that you are not alone, and you are deeply loved, and the universe is holding space for you to embody your next level of individuality that will know how to partner at a whole new level. And you will be creating more beauty in the world if you share your beauty and light with others. It really is part of it. But we're in a zone for the last quarter that I do give you permission. Self-preservation is not selfish. Taking these timeouts and dedicating to these various, rituals or practices that we've taught you along the way, or the classes and courses that are provided along the way, they're all the support you need to get yourself ready, get in shape for 2020. I don't know any other way to say it. I hate to repeat myself, but you're going to want to not have to think about certain little things when these big, amazing opportunities present themselves. So let's clear the decks. Let's be in a position to receive. Open those floodgates, open those channels, open those pathways between you and your goal, your dream, your aspirations, or your act of service for the planet, between you and being able to do what it is you really, really want to do, and that you're called to do from your heart and your soul, and that you really won't be denied. So you might as well get started now. So look for links in the email, that is the post-call goodies from the Fall Equinox call, and in my next mailing going out for Karmic Tools mailing. There will be links to all these goodies that I've talked about and ways to get in touch with me and Shanta and Cinnamon Rose if you like. So I thank you so much for your time and energy and support during this turn of the wheel, and for joining us for this celebration. It is always more fun when you all join us. And we definitely raised the roof once again, getting together. I think Shanta's going to do another Anustan, which is a daily practice of mantras and prayers and meditations that we do for a number of days prior to the winter solstice. So we'll be preparing at that time as well. So happy harvest. May you find some nuggets of gold and be blessed by your own work this year. You have done a lot, and we are blessed for the work you have done. Remember, all the healing work you do ripples out, and it really unlocks things backwards and forwards. For the 7 generations prior, for the 7 generations ahead of you, the work you do is vital to the line, to your lineage, whatever that may be, and it's connected to the long line to which we are all connected. So we do this work individually, but we amplify our power when we get together and do it together. And that's what these various circles are all dedicated to. So I hope that you will join us and be part of this amazing time of evolution on the planet, being in a body and celebrating that throughout the year, each month. Every month we check in with the new moon and full moon. Every 6 weeks we check in with the seasonal shift. There are ways to create balance in our lives that allow us to stop, go, 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 and then collapse. Go, 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 and collapse. In whatever sense of the word that may be, on any level of our lives, physically, emotionally, spiritually, mentally, go, 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 collapse. So it could be any level. We want to do a little bit every day, a little bit every week, a little bit every month. That makes the year that much easier to wrap up at the end like this. Then there's certain things that are just done and you don't even have to think about anymore. They're just done. Check it off the list and get ready for the new. And right now, if you really want those amazing collaborations and partnerships, which I definitely do, I'm calling in a whole new expansion to my circle because I can now handle being of service to a larger group. I could not handle that in these recent years because I was still in parenting mode, but Empty Nest is freeing me up to get with you in person more often, and so I'm doing that. And so reach out if you're in the various cities that I go to, would be D.C., Chicago, New York, and Atlanta, New Orleans for sure, and of course where I live, Tampa, St. Pete, Clearwater area is my area in Florida on the Gulf Coast on the west side of Florida. So if you're local or near me, feel free to reach out. If you want to do your session in person, that's really fun and amazing and, again, amplifies the power. So I will wrap this up and wish you the happiest of harvests. Much love, deep gratitude, one love.